Good evening. It's 2 minutes past 6:30, but we're going to start because we want to start on time. We want everyone out of here quickly so we don't ruin your entire night. On behalf of myself and the school counseling team, we welcome you to the Senior College Planning Night. This will be an informational presentation with the hopes that it will eliminate some of the stress that you and your children may be going through. Some of you have been through this process before, while others are just going through this for the very first time. So hopefully after tonight, your mind will be a little more at ease after listening to the presentation and what the counselors have to say. So at this time, I would like to kindly ask you to turn to the last page of your packet, and we will start this meeting the way we start all meetings here at Malden Catholic in prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit, God of all, we ask your blessings on this day. We pray that we may become men and women of simplicity, humility, compassion, trust, and zeal. Let our work today and every day be a reflection of your love. May all that we do serve to strengthen the Malden Catholic family and the world. Lord, help us to imitate the model provided by Theodore James Ryken and the Zavarian brothers, so that we too may fall in love with serving one another, and in doing so, build your kingdom on earth. All this we ask through the intercession of St. Francis Xavier. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They've never given me the microphone before, so they don't know what they're in for. Because once I stop talking, I just don't stop talking once I start. Mrs. Parker wanted to introduce the panel, but I wanted to introduce the panel because I have to tell you, I am the luckiest person ever. This group of counselors, they're just phenomenal. And your children are very, very lucky to have them. They care about your children like they care about their own. So I would like to start with Mrs. Donna Parker. She's the Director of School Counseling. Next we have Mrs. Peggy Davis, Mrs. Amanda Dresick, Mr. Matt Lee Masiello, Mr. Jack Toro, and Mrs. Alexis Cole. And on a side note, Mrs. Alexis Cole is also the school counselor for all international students. So all international students have the same counselor this year, and it's Mrs. Cole. And now I'd like to call it Mrs. Parker.
I also wanted to introduce Mrs. Delgenio, because I don't think she introduced herself, but she's our wonderful admin in our admin in our office, and then she also is the person that the college visits that you see, you'll be seeing come out every week, signing up for college visits. We have a big college fair in the spring, scholarships. Mrs. Delgenio is the person that coordinates that for our office, so we're very, very lucky to have her. We really do have a great, great team at Malden Catholic. So we wanted, I wanted to welcome you all to tonight. We called it a senior college planning night, but what it really is, this senior class has had a lot of prep around the college planning process. First of all, it's a smallish senior class compared to last year, and so it's nice for us because we've really gotten to know them as students, and with working through the junior planning process, we were able to meet with these students in small groups, in large groups, individually. So we've gotten to know the students very, very well, and we're looking forward to this process, which now in the fall is more of, the students have done a lot of the hard work, and you have as families, and now it's really about kind of that nuts and bolts. So what next? What are the steps now to get through the college planning process? So when we think about, I like to think about the admissions process. The first half of the year, we want to think about, okay, where do we want to apply and how do we do it? So it's a lot of let's look at the deadline, let's look at the steps, what are the forms, how do we connect this application to that? Financial aid, we will be having a financial aid workshop in October. We haven't solidified the date yet, but that will be coming, where we'll have someone come in and talking about the financial aid process. So really, those are the types of things we really want to start thinking about between now and January 1st. And then after January 1st, typically all of the students the majority of them have applied to most of their colleges. And so they're kind of waiting for those acceptances to roll in. And then they're starting to look at the packages that they're offered and where do they go from there? How do we compare those things? Where do we want to go? There's accepted student days. So that's kind of the second half of the year, looking more to what is the package? What have I been offered? Comparing them, and then negotiating with schools too around financial aid and scholarships. So today we will be kind of going through the steps in the timeline of this process. We'll be talking a little bit about the transcript release form and how students will get transcripts to go to colleges. Student recommendation information, so we'll talk a little bit about that. The students have already done a lot of that, and teachers and counselors are in the process of writing letters. Tips for the college application process. College visits, again, those started yesterday, all the college visits, and will continue for the next few months. Testing, important dates and deadlines. Financial aid jumpstart, again, we just touched quickly on it tonight, but really we'll have the main bulk of financial aid coming in October. And then scholarships, so we'll just touch on that. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in October. So in your packets, we have listed the school and college counseling team. One thing that we did this year, we had the opportunity to do, since we have a full staff of counselors, this is actually the first year that we've split the alphabet among grades 9 through 12 amongst all of our counseling staff. So what we were able to do was to ensure that seniors will have, and your sons and daughters will have, a counselor that will have less than, in the 30 range, and some like in the 20 range as far as seniors that they're working with. So that ratio is much, much better than in years past when the number's been greater. And so now, because we are able to split those counselors, so your sons and daughters, they may have been assigned a different senior counselor than they thought they had, but again, we're all in the office talking to each other all the time, sharing information, and it's just a way so that we'll be able to share that information and get the best information and the best colleges for your sons and daughters. So as far as the steps in the timeline, so by now, most of the hard work has been done. Like I said, last year we had admissions panels come in. We had a workshop with admissions. Because we had a leadership series during school last year, we were able to coordinate. The administration gave school and college counseling the nice gift of letting us do a lot of planning with juniors around school and college counseling. So we were able to bring in a lot of people to talk about admissions. We had a panel of seniors that talked to our juniors. We were able to, in a large group, talk about the college essay and the common application and Naviance. The students were able to start filling out surveys on Naviance, surveys that will go to the teachers they picked to write their letters and also to their counselors. So we're able to get a lot of that work up and running. And now, again, so now in the fall, we do this kickoff so that we can kind of present what we will be doing. But a lot of the work is going to happen when we start meeting with your sons and daughters individually, having them come up, many, many times, walking them through the college planning process. So most students have already researched schools and created a list of reach, target, and safety schools. So again, target are the schools that, the student feels comfortable that they have the GPA, that they really like the school, it has what they're looking for. Reach are schools that might be maybe a little bit out of their range, perhaps because it's just that type of school that's just very selective. And so maybe a student may be looking at, 1 or 2 reach schools. And then safety schools are considered schools that, they could be considered safeties just because they might be a financial safety for the student, or, just a school that, I like that school, but I know I'm definitely going to get into that school. So that's what those groups of schools are. And then when we talk to your sons and daughters, we talk to them about that in the fall, in last spring, or throughout the year last year. And we again will talk to them about it when we meet with them in the next few weeks. The common application, I'm sure you've all heard about that. So the common application is the application that most of the students will be filling out. And most of the colleges, many colleges and universities will accept the common application. And this application is something that we had all the juniors start, so they all have accounts. August 1st is the date that the Common App becomes live for this year. So they all should be working on that common application right now. The students took the SATs last April at school, which is great. So they got that SAT out of the way. Again, I know a lot of schools are still going to be test optional this year, but they do have that SAT. And then if they want to go and take the SAT again, they're welcome to do that. But we at least got one SAT out of the way. They requested letters of recommendations from their teachers and their counselors. And like I said, if they filled out those forms on Navigance, the teachers and counselors have been writing those letters for them. And those letters, the teachers, we coordinate that. Once the students give us the names and they fill out their questionnaires, then we as counselors, we will make sure that the teachers upload them in a timely fashion, so we'll be able to meet any due dates. They should have worked in completing a draft of their college essay. Again, that goes usually as part of the common application. We did a workshop on it, and a lot of the English junior year, the English teachers went over the college essay and then actually used it, required it as part of a homework or an assignment. So many students were able to come up with a draft for their college essay. And then visiting college campuses, most students have done that, or doing some research online or visiting those schools. And then the last thing is the registering with the NCAA clearinghouse. Students just need to go on there if they plan to play a Division I or a Division II sport when they're in college. So those are some of the highlights, and then just kind of continuing on. So those are some things that we've talked to the students about, but the hard work will continue. So what's next? So right now, we want to make sure that they've completed, the counselors and teachers are completing those recommendation letters. If for some reason a student didn't fill out those questionnaires on Navigance, when we meet with them individually, we're going to be telling them, complete those questionnaires, because that's the only way a teacher or counselor will be able to write that letter for you. The common application, we're asking them to complete the common application, and we'll make sure that they do that. And then finalizing their list of colleges that they're applying to in Navigance. So we will work with the students to do that if they haven't done that already. They'll be deciding about when they want to, so early action, early decision, regular, or rolling. These are different types of deadlines for different type of colleges. So when we meet with your sons and daughters, we'll be asking them, where do you feel like you're going to apply? Early, early action, early decision, how do you want to apply? And we'll be working with them, and certainly with you as the parent, to find out how they want to apply. And again, those deadlines, the early deadlines are typically November 1st to November 15th in general. And the other regular and rolling, those can be later. But again, for our students, we really feel like they're prepared. They're going to have their transcript, they're going to have their letters of recommendation. So we feel like whatever they want to do, they all should be prepared and ready to apply early if they indeed want to apply early to colleges. That is our goal. There is a transcript release form that students need to fill out. Is something that the student needs to fill this out. We're going to send out the link for the transcript release form. It's a Google form, and students will fill that out one at a time, and that's how we know that the student wants us to send their information to colleges, and it gives us permission to send their transcript and letters to colleges. And then finally, that last step is that completing the paperwork and financial aid, and then applying for some scholarships. So again, this is kind of that general timeline of what to expect. And so these wonderful counselors now are going to go over in just like a little more in depth these steps. And then at the end of after everyone speaks, if people have questions, you can we'll give you some time to ask. And again, no matter what, our information is on here. Please, reach out to your sons and daughters counselors at any time. So I'd like to invite Mrs. Davis up now to talk about transcripts, etc.
Hello. Okay, so let us talk about transcripts. So our office will be sending students' transcripts to the colleges, right? So this is required for each college that you apply to. So students, it's very important that you need to fill out this Google form. Like Ms. Parker was saying, you'll get it in the next weeks. It is important for you to fill out this form for each college that you are applying to, right? So let's just say, for example, I'm applying to BU, Northeastern, and Tufts, right? So I'm going to fill it out 3 times. Once for BU, once for Northeastern, once for Tufts, okay? So you are required to fill out every single field in the form. You won't be able to submit it unless you fill it out, right? So there's going to be an asterisk. You can't move forward. You're going to look back to see if you missed a field or not. So make sure you fill all that out. Really fast. It takes about a minute to fill out for each college. So if you're applying to 6, that's 6 minutes, right? Do my math right? I think so. Yep. And then it is important also, so when you go through this process, when you get the Google form, make sure that you're signed in to your Malden Catholic account. So if you're signed into your personal Gmail account, Yahoo account, Hotmail account, you won't be able to access the form. So make sure you're signed in and logged into your Malden Catholic account to access the Google form. Okay? And then, so we will get that out to you by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. And again, talk to your counselors if you have any questions about this, but pretty straightforward. Just know that we will be the ones sending it out to the colleges. All you need to do is fill it out through this Google form. Okay, so next slide, student recommendation information. So I think this is super important now that we've got a full staff that Ms. Parker was saying, and for the first time, this is the first time that we are splitting the caseload, 9 through 12 evenly throughout the counselors. So if you have a new counselor, and I see some of my students that I've met already, great, amazing. If you have a new counselor, this is something that I think would be very beneficial and helpful for the counselor that you're working with, right? So in Naviance, which everybody has access to, students, there's an About Me section, and then from there you'll go to Surveys from My School. You'll fill out, which most already have last year, Teacher Recommendation 1 and 2, and Counselor Recommendation, right? So this is required before your counselors and teachers can write your letters. And I will emphasize this again, like if you're working with a new counselor, or let's just say you asked a teacher, but a teacher's no longer here, so you want to ask another one, this survey is really, really helpful for faculty and staff to get to know you as a student, right? This is a time for you to talk about yourself a little bit more in detail, right? Not that you don't do that sometimes in class or like co-curricular or clubs or sports, but this is something that we can read and be like, oh, okay, like this makes sense, like this is who you are, and then we could put this into your letter of rec for each college. So I really want to emphasize that. So students, if you feel like you don't remember what you wrote, you can access it again, you could add more, you could edit it to let, talk more about yourself. Okay, so if you have a November 1 deadline and have not done it, have it completed by October 1st. So again, I encourage you to go, just log on, just see what you filled out. If you need to add more, do so. If you can't think of anything, then that's fine. You could talk to your counselor more when you schedule a meeting. Okay, so again, emphasize most students have done this already, but I would just say double check it again, because you never know if more information that you thought about that you wanted to share pops up. Cool, so more about letters of recommendation. So students requested 2 academic letters of recommendation in the spring, right? So all students were supposed to fill out a Naviance teacher survey for each teacher that asked a few questions about their experience in their classes. Counselors track teacher letters and make sure that they are submitted to Naviance ahead of the deadline. So a lot of you guys did this last year, spring semester. You approached teachers, you asked them if they could write a letter of rec, right? we follow up with them to make sure that they're on track and that we have everything ready for your college app and to send it to each college. Outside letters of recommendation. So I see like some faces that I know, like if you do an outside club sport or outside volunteer, right, or if you have a job or something like that, and if you really want your coach or mentor or, you know, club leader, if you really want them to write a letter of recommendation that can talk about who you are as a person, talk about your strengths, talk about the growth that they've seen you go through for like X amount of years, that's great. If you do ask them, please tell them to email the letters directly to your counselor, so then we can have them on file and we could submit it when it's ready. All right, so again, if you want to ask a club coach, your boss, the person that, your mentor, a place that you volunteer that can talk about who you are and the growth and your strengths, that's great and we welcome it. But just again, tell them to send it to our email address, to your counselors. All right? Cool, cool. And now we're gonna have Ms. Drezik talk about some more fun stuff on Common Application.
Oh, fun.
Hello, everyone. So one of the logistical pieces of the application process involves signing off on the FERPA waiver. FERPA is a silly little word that stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So this is done through the student's Common Application account, and it only needs to be signed one time. From there, it will apply to all the schools in which your son or daughter will be applying to via the Common App. Once this waiver has been submitted, students will then be able to connect their Common Application accounts to their Naviance accounts. Now, your Naviance accounts are what we as counselors use to send out all of the documentation needed for your application. So things, for example, your transcript, letters of recommendation, all of that fun stuff. Please keep in mind, we cannot send your documentation for the Common Application for those colleges until this has been completed. Counselors will be working with students during our individual meetings to go through this process with them step by step to ensure that it's done correctly. Where am I? Top tips for applying to college. Please keep in mind that the student is the primary contact. So the email address that's provided in the application is going to be how colleges are going to communicate. It's also where information regarding financial aid will come to. So please be sure that your students check their emails very frequently and that they share any information that comes through with all of you so that you are aware of it also. Secondly, I can't stress this enough, love your safe option, okay? Don't just choose a safe school because you don't think it's going to be potentially an option for you. Find a safe school that you know that you're going to be able to thrive and be happy. Ask for help. Please don't hesitate to ask us for help. We're here to support and guide all of you through the college application process. We know it can be a very stressful time, but we're here to make things somewhat easier for all of you. And we want to be able to answer any questions that come up along the way. Plan accordingly. Please be sure to complete your applications in a timely fashion. As an example, asking a teacher or asking your school counselor for something on December 31st when you have a January 1st deadline is just not realistic. Please be prepared, know your deadlines, and determine what each specific college is going to need from you to consider your application complete. And then just a final note, at the end of the year, once all students have decided on the school that they are going to attend, we will be sending out a final transcript to that school that automatically gets sent once we know where each student is going to be attending. Okay. Up next is Mr. Lee Maciel. He's going to be talking about college representatives and visits. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm now going to talk a bit about the college representative visits. These visits for students in grades 11 and 12 began yesterday afternoon and are now in full swing for the current school year. All visits will be conducted in person this year and will begin at 2:25 p.m. in designated classrooms around the building and last for approximately 40 minutes. It is important to note, all students are expected to sign up or register for these visits through Naviance at least one day in advance. There are roughly 71 colleges and universities currently signed up to visit MC this fall. However, more schools will sign up periodically, so students are advised to closely monitor the full and updated list in Naviance each day. These visits will run through early December. Typically, there will be 1 or 2 colleges that send representatives to MC each day to meet with interested students. In many cases, the representatives are admission officers from colleges and universities. Thus, these visitations provide twofold opportunities for students. First, they allow students to make personal contact with those individuals who actually may be reviewing their college application materials. It is nice when an admissions representative can match a face with an application. Second, they provide occasions for students to learn about schools that may be on their radar. College representatives will meet with interested students in small groups to discuss topics such as academic programs, campus life, financial aid, and admissions procedures for the institutions that they represent. Students are encouraged to ask questions during this time. For example, if a student has an interest in a particular major, then he or she should ask about program offerings. If a student is planning to live on campus, then they should ask about residential life. The list of upcoming visits will be announced weekly. Fact sheets for visiting colleges will also be posted on the bulletin board in the school counseling hallway. Proper etiquette is expected at all visits. Students are reminded that each college visitation experience, they represent Malden Catholic. Thus, their behavior affects our relationships with these institutions. So the next slide is the college visits and touring colleges. So we're going to have a college visit day on Wednesday, October 12th. Seniors do not have classes on this day, so it's a good idea to use the day to arrange 1 or 2 college visits if possible. Be sure to set up a campus tour in advance through the college or university admission office, via a phone call, or by going onto the college's website. If planning to attend a college visit during the school week, there is a college visitation request form that students would need to fill out. This form can be found in the handouts that you were given this evening, as well as in the counseling office and at the front desk. Signatures from Mr. Smith and your counselors prior to your visit, and a college admissions representative during the visit are required. The completed and signed college visitation request form and a parent note must be submitted upon the student's return to school. Next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about college fairs. Many of you have a sense of what a college fair is and attended our college fair last spring. But for those of you who do not, let me explain. A college fair is an organized event that allows students to interact with admission representatives from a wide range of post-secondary institutions to discuss course offerings, admissions and financial aid procedures, college life in general, and other information pertinent to the college selection process. We will be posting and sending out information for upcoming fall college fairs. Attending a college fair is another way to get information directly from college admissions professionals about their particular application process. Thank you. We're going to have Mrs. Cole come up and talk about testing.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexis Cole. Very nice to have everyone here today. Testing. Many colleges have remained tests optional for this admissions cycle. All colleges will post their policies on their admissions websites, so please be sure to check those websites. Some colleges have adopted test blind admission policies, so you do have the option to test again if you really need or would like to. You can plan to prepare to do significantly better. Important dates and deadlines. Seniors should all submit applications regardless of deadlines by December 16th. Before late November, initial transcripts will have classes, but no senior grades. Colleges expect this. Quarter 1 grades will be submitted to colleges approximately 7 school days after report cards are emailed out. Quarter 2 grades will be submitted to colleges approximately 7 school days after report cards are emailed out. Transcripts and accompanying documents are only sent to colleges listed on a transcript release form. No exceptions on that one. Students' parents are responsible for sending out test scores to colleges, so please see your school counselor for assistance if needed. May 1st is deposit day. You must choose one college to attend by May 1st. We require our seniors to complete a graduation survey and provide us with their official colleges of choice. Thank you. And next will be Mr. Jack Turo.
There you go. So I'm going to talk about financial aid. So when you think about financial aid, there's 2 types of financial aid. The FAFSA, which is primarily for federal financial aid and loan eligibility, and then the CSS. So FAFSA is primarily financial aid, federal financial aid. It opens October 1st, and it's required by all schools. There's also the CSS, which has a fee, but that, unlike the FAFSA, which gets sent to every school, the CSS is not required for every school that you apply to. It is required by 400 private schools for institutional aid, but it's important to check that out before submitting that scholarship information. I know it's kind of confusing, but I think the biggest thing that at least helps me kind of to tell these 2 apart is that FAFSA is really the federal aid, and then CSS is more school specific. So every school is going to have the FAFSA, but you may have to fill out the CSS. That depends on the school that you apply to. Another thing when you think about financial aid and just the overall process is thinking about how much it's going to cost. Every school has a net price calculator, and you can see how much a school may cost according to your financial situation and other factors. So every school on the website has a net price calculator, and you can go on and see what you may be paying for the school minus scholarships that may be coming your way. And kind of like was said before, I have a financial aid night in October, so more information on this is going to come out then. Finally, scholarships. So local scholarships are going to be communicated through Naviance and from emails, typically through October and May. So we tell students focus on the college application the first couple months of school, and then focus on scholarships as you get more towards the middle of the year once you submit all your Common App materials. So you may also get an email from Mrs. Gelgenio about scholarship opportunities, so just keep an eye on your email for those to come. While local, there's a lot of local scholarship opportunities, you can also seek out different opportunities through local high schools, banks, libraries, credit unions, really anything that you can name. They could have potential scholarships available, so make sure you check the website for the scholarships that are going to be available for this application year. And it's just important to note too that a lot of the financial aid comes from merit scholarships, not outside scholarships. So thinking about the cost of college, keeping in mind that these aren't going to make a huge dent in the cost of going to college, but they are going to affect what you pay, and it all kind of forms a big puzzle. So I'm going to hand it back, but thank you guys.
So again, tonight was really about kind of those nuts and bolts of what we're doing and what we're going to be doing in the upcoming months. We're going to hit the ground running. The counselors have prepared their Google calendars and has started to send them out to seniors just so we can start meeting with them right away. Just to, the first meeting is about like, where are you at? And we have a kind of our checklist of, do you have the Common App? Let's look at your survey. Let's look at your transcripts. So we'll go over all of those things. What are they thinking? What have they visited? And will be that kind of that initial meeting, and then we'll do our marching orders based on that of where they need to go. But we are here to help as high school counselors. We love many aspects of our job, but certainly the college and life planning process for students and helping them transition from Public Catholic is one of our favorite things to do. We say that to our students all of the time. And we're here too for you as parents, where we understand that a lot of us are parents, and we know how daunting this can be at times. And it is changing. We say all the time, we do this, we've done this for years, but every year the colleges will change rules, and we try to stay up on what's new and what's out there, and speaking to admissions people and having admissions people talk to us. But every year it does change, so it is important for the students and you as their families just to kind of keep up on, are they looking for something else? And if they are, we will indeed help them figure out what to do and what they may need to do. So in your packet, again, all of the counselors' contact information is here. And we absolutely want you to reach out if you have questions. Again, the counselors will be sending out Google calendars to the students if they haven't done so already, to set up a meeting in the next couple of weeks just to figure out where you are in the process. And so now we just wanted to open up if there's any general questions. Again, we're going to be here, after this session is over, if you want to, if you had questions you wanted to ask privately. But are there any general questions that anyone wanted to raise in the big group at all?